Momentous Struggle, a Star Wars Shatterpoint podcast. This week, Aubrey and I are going to talk about our league end event. It was a little small this time around, I think this time of year, but we're going to talk about that and maybe touch on the meta a little bit because it seems to be a hot topic right now that people just love talking about. So we might talk about that a little bit and everything along those lines, but let's go ahead and jump on into it. Aubrey, how are you today after your amazing run at our league end event?
Okay, all right. To piggyback on our topic from last week, I have decided that if my role in the community is to be the TO and mascot, then I'm gonna make my goals at tournaments smaller. So I had a few goals for this tournament. The number one being test Freedom Fighter Leia over PLC, and the reason being is that as much as I love Chopper, and as much as I love Spectres, I do have a problem with being down a body. It comes up in enough games that I wanted to experiment with Rebel Pathfinders after having a big long conversation with Accuser about them. Shout out to Accuser. He gave me some cool lists to try out. And I figured if I'm going to try Pathfinders, the consensus of the community is that they should be with Freedom Fighter Leia because she unlocks some interesting things with their dash, and then depending on if you have C3PO with you or sorry, not their dash. The hunker ability that turns dashes into advances. That thing. And then if you have C3PO with you, he does the same thing. He can give them a dash or an attack, and so again, like that opens up interesting things. Or if you play with, that gives you a chance to play with Luke Daring Hero. The final composition of what I landed on was supposed to be a mix and match list with emphasis on a Cassian anchor. Which, spoilers, there's a reason I wanted to play as many games of Cassian as I could. We're going to get into that later, dear listeners. And so I was playing with Cassian, Jin, Freedom Fighter Leia, Kanan, and stock fare kind of in like the Cassian Kanan spot. It was Kanan as Rebel Commandos, Cassian, Callus, Bazin Chirrut. And then I kind of switched things up. Accuser had my secondary swapped, and I was looking at their abilities. I put Luke, 3-cost Luke, and Han and Chewie under Jin, and then I put Bodhi and Pathfinders under Leia. The reason being is that Bodhi can use his dash to turn the Rebel Pathfinders into like a much longer thing, whereas Luke already gives out a reposition to spies. Like he already does that. So it was flip flopped in the original list, but I decided I wanted Bodhi over on that team. The other reason is that Bodhi's ability to his bubble doesn't really work that well on Han and Chewie, whereas it works on Rebel. Like obviously, it works on everybody in the other list, and so that's kind of where I lighted on the list. Any thought? Yeah, no, that's everything. Any thoughts? Any comments, Todd? I'm still trying to make this Rebel premiere thing work.
No. I mean, I think Rebels are. I mean, I think it's like I said. It's one of those where like we're probably going to get into it a little bit later about the Cassian issue and everything along those lines and everything. But it's no. I mean, it's interesting trying to play around with what you plug in with him, and I think that's kind of where like a lot of people are playing around with Cassian is like where do you plug his stuff in like that. But I mean, so we'll kind of like go back a little bit before we jump into like the event and like what you were playing. Like, what have you been up to besides just playing around with list building? Is that all you've been doing besides of course we had games yesterday because of the event, but have you been doing anything else besides like any other hobbying or anything like that?
I actually have. I'm actually really happy. I even have. Oh, hey, I even have one sitting right here for those of you on the YouTubes. I'm holding up a empty empty base, but I did a bunch of work on basing, like I kept threatening to do for like 2 years. I because I really like I call them the extra dramatic bases. We could call them sin bases. There you go, sin bases, where they've got like little tufts and actual
Should you just
rocks.
call Sin extra dramatic?
I mean, have you met Sin? Hi, love you.
You might not be her favorite. Yeah, you might not be her favorite after that one.
I'm sorry, Todd. Who else is extra dramatic in this community? I'll give you one guess.
I think it's this certain ginger that I know named Aubrey.
See, see, it. I believe it takes one to know one. anyway, anyway, love you, Sin. But all right, basing. So I did use some of like the texture paints that I believe they're the Pro Crow brand. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got the Pro Crow one. So I did some texture paints and I got some rocks on there, and I got a little bit of help from the fiance. Talia helped me get the colors because I wanted it to look like almost Mars, but not quite Mars because I was going for a Jeddah theme because these were for Baze and Chirrut, and I wanted I wanted to actually look a little bit more like Jedi Survivor than the movie because the movie's like very realistic, and then Jeddah in the video game kind of leans into like the deeper reds, and I'm happy to report, Todd, it worked out very well. I actually did everything I wanted to do, and it was successful.
Cool. That's cool. I'm glad it's working out for you. Any
Yeah,
tips or
yeah. So
tricks for
my
everybody?
week was a lot of hobbying. Oh, don't forget, I do have one for you. Don't forget about the shadows around the rocks because I was like almost done, and Talia's like, no, 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 you gotta go back over that red there, and like we did like a purplish white color, or not purplish white, purplish gray color to like simulate the shadows and everything. And oh my word, it turned out really really well. Oh, and don't forget dry brushing. I mean, I know this is like that's back to painting 101, but like I did the whole color scheme, and I was like, this doesn't quite look right. I don't know if this is working. And Talia's like, you're not done. You have to do the last step. And I'm like, I know, but I don't want to do the dry brushing until I'm sure it's going to look right. And she's like, no, just do the last step. It's going to look fine. And guess who, as usual, was correct, Todd?
Yep. Well, did you try using any washes on it either? Like to try because sometimes I mean like to get that shadowing effect and like some of the stuff there. Sometimes that helps too. Did you try? Did you use any washes on the bases?
Um, so in this case, I thought I was going to because I have a few different options in washes. Most of my washes weirdly are from um, not not Proacryl because I use mostly Proacryl, but they're from the other big one, like the Citadel pots or whatever. But when it got done, the color looked exactly the way I wanted after dry brushing. So I was just like, nope, I'm not touching it anymore. I'm like, nope, nope, this is where I wanted it. This is where I wanted the colors. So I mean, you absolutely like if you wanted to have either a lighter or a darker effect of yes, obviously you could apply a wash of some kind and help with that. But I like the shadows looked good and the rocks looked good, and so I was like, nope, I'm not touching it because I don't know if you remember like my Luke Skywalker from forever ago where I got the like reddish color exactly the way I wanted, and then when I went back with dry brushing, I must have like changed the color slightly somehow and it like messed it up. So I've learned if I like where it's at, I just stop. I don't do no more. Aubrey is no longer driving the bus. We got to the destination.
Fair enough. That sounds about right. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like
What
so,
about you?
hobby wise, at least for me, I finally finished. Yeah, I finally finished up the painting project that I was working on for the that core set. So I finally got that done. Finally got the push through, which I'm very excited about because I haven't painted any of my own stuff in a very long time. So I'm excited to actually like have the holidays coming up to finally work on my own stuff. And get like some of my stuff painted, get kind of caught up with painting because I've been neglecting my own painting and stuff like that. So I'm excited to sit there and do that. I was at the event yesterday since there was a I would have made an odd number of people. I didn't plan the event, so like I spent some of the time building up the Krennic box because I haven't had a chance to do that yet. Because I'm excited about a different Krennic list that I want to try out with basically all of the Krennic box and Vader and Stormtrooper Sergeant. So that's my kind of goal right now is just get that entire box built and painted so I can sit there and put that on the table because you know me and not wanting to actually play something unless it's painted. So yeah, that's where I'm at and stuff like that. But I'm excited that I'm finally done with that project for that new player and getting that done for him so I can move on and hopefully he'll start showing up to some of the events that we have in the community and stuff like that too.
Yeah, I have to say I really like how the terrain turned out, Todd. Did you put pictures in the Discord of that terrain? Because for being a relatively quote unquote basic paint scheme, it turned out really really good.
Mm. I haven't. I'll probably put some of those up in there because I was pretty happy with how it was. I mean, it was really just, I think it was fur brown base primer, like the primer paint, like in the rattle can, and I just like rattle can the entire thing, and then used a warm gray from Pro Acryl, and did like the gantry, or not the gantries, but the tops and like the sides of it and that, and then just basically like hit like some dark grays and stuff like that in a couple places, and then like some light color on like some of the little buttons and like little consoles and stuff that they have to like make those pop out a little bit. And I think it, for a low end of effort, I think they turned out pretty good actually.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Oh, that reminds me, Todd. Random hobby question. You were talking about a terrain brush you had that you were using for that. What brush do you use? I'm just curious. I meant to ask you, and then I forgot.
So
So now
one
I'm
of
just
our
asking you live
local,
on the pod.
that's fine. So one, and this is the brush that I use for the terrain. I don't know if you can see very well, but this is it. So there's a local individual here that named Jeffy has a company of his own called Ghost Terrain. And he makes basically like
Oh
acrylic
yeah, yeah.
brushes, very fairly inexpensive acrylic brushes. So I use his like a lot of his terrain brushes and dry brushes that he has. I use a lot of those, and I mean, and this thing has gone through multiple pieces of terrain, and that I use to sit there and do like a lot of the big like swashes of like if I'm doing like okay the gantry and I can just sit there and do like and it comes out really nice and even. So this is the one that I use though. Is this for the terrain? Is this brush right here if I'm not doing airbrushing stuff.
Yay!
If I
I
don't want to sit
figured
there and
everyone
pull out
else
the
could have the answer
airbrush
to that
because
question.
sometimes that gets annoying. Yep. I don't know. Like, I don't think he only sells locally in Arizona, though. Unfortunately, so.
Well,
But
you
yeah,
just
so
have to
let's
come and
go ahead
visit
and
us.
jump into the event. Exactly. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the event though, and we'll see what like and talk about like what happened there because I know you got to play in our end of league event. It was I think like I said because of the time of year, it was a little off with like how we ended up getting amount of players and stuff like that. So we only had 10 players that were able to show up, which I mean for a normal event isn't bad at all. I think that's pretty good overall, really. Um, so I think that turned out well. But yeah, we can go ahead and just kind of jump into that and see how you went because we played 3 rounds with only 10 players and got to our one undefeated, which was one of our local Bob. But how were your games? How I mean, where do you want to jump in with those?
Oh, I can go in order. I got to go back to the first page because I was trying to look at the composition of the event. Well, actually, you know what? I might. Well, no, we'll do that when we talk meta. But anyway, my games were so like I said at the beginning of the episode, I was supposed to be playing a Cassian Anchor list, but it was also technically like a mix and match in the sense that if I really wanted to, I could pivot into like a Kanan Jin list or a Leia Jin list, just depending on if I thought they had better tools. Like I wasn't necessarily locked into I must play Cassian every round. I just figure at this point I like Bazin Chirrut, I like Cassian. Callus is solid. I'm going to play those three models as much as possible and figure out the rest of the event because that I mean, let's be real, this is the world we are living in the meta. And then I get paired against Matt Booker round one. Todd, remind me, who's Matt Booker? Who's that guy that we play with all the time?
Never heard of him. Never heard of him. Is he any good? Is he any good?
He's decent. He's decent. You want to know how I here? I can describe my round one in a with a very simple metaphor. I had a few things like just not break my way, very very small things. But then Matt, being the great player that he was, took a crowbar to that very small crack and just slowly wrenched it open over the course of 2 hours, and then shoved the crowbar into my face. like, like
Sounds
I
painful.
can't even complain. Like there were a couple of different occasions where cuz I mean good guy Matt, he's always willing to like talk plays out with you and be like if it's not like a high stakes event, like this is our end of league event. So there was like two or three times where Matt was like, well, I really thought you were going to do this or go over here or do that, and we would play out like the outcome, particularly spoilers at the end where I lost. Like there was another line of play that Matt saw that I didn't, that would have gained me another turn in the game, and then I would have lost anyway, like by default. so so it was such a heavy-handed win on his part that even if I had taken the quote unquote better line of play in the moment, I still would have lost. like
Mm.
like it just was academic and done. But like to talk about, so I was talking about goals, right? So one of the things I wanted to try was Rebel Pathfinders and Freedom Fighter Lair. Another goal I have, and I don't know, I haven't talked about this on the cast very much because far better players than me are very hyped about what feels like a simple interaction, and this is just a me thing. Todd, you don't play Spectres that much, right? I'm trying to remember.
No.
Okay, so helpful hand on Ezra. I've played Spectres from the beginning. When Kanan goes, he dashes. Obviously, he dashes himself. He dashes another Spectre. I have heard for months from far better players than me that helpful hand is super useful, and that to be clear, dear listeners, helpful hand is when you end a movement action with a what is a force primary unit, force user primary within range two of Ezra. Ezra gets a jump. Just so everybody's on the same page. The first like 6 to 8 months that I played with Kane and Ezra, I never used that ability. I never used that ability. There was no universe where it was an optimal play to land within range two of Ezra. But everyone else talks about how useful it is. So I have been trying to figure out ways to make it useful. So at the beginning of this game, I end up pulling. Did I pull Kanan first? Or no, I think I pulled somebody else and reserved them, and then ended up in a Kanan. I don't know. I might be wrong about how this happened, but one of my first turn, and I was first player. We're on shifting priorities. We Kanan ends up going, and I was like, all right, this is a good time for me to test helpful hand. So I do his dash, and I dash Ezra up, because that's the other part of the play is you have to dash Ezra with Kanan's tactic, or else Kanan there's no universe where you end Kanan's movement within range of Ezra unless you're specifically being bad at the game and not moving Kanan anywhere. So so I move Kanan so that he specifically lands within 2 of Ezra at the very edge of Ezra so that Ezra can jump up because the intention is if I can get Kanan on the far left midpoint and Ezra on the midpoint, I would be scoring 3 right off the bat, which I assume is the intention of this. But in my experience, Todd, and it's going to play out again here, that this is very terrain dependent. And if you don't have an ingress point or something to interact with, it doesn't work. But I hear all the time about how great Helpful Hand is. So, you know where this is going, Todd? I get Ezra onto the midpoint because I trigger Helpful Hand. Awesome. I then move Kanan because remember I had to stop him short with his with his move action. I then take cover with him afterwards, and to be clear, Matt Booker stopped me, and this is how good of a player Matt Booker is. He's like, Aubrey, you're gonna be out if you take this line of play, and I was like, and mind you, this is before I moved any of the models, Todd. This is how good Matt is. He just eyeballed it from the very beginning. Because before I did any of this, I told him what I was gonna do, right? Like, well, what all my intentions were. This is what I'm gonna do. And he's like, I know it looks really close, but I think you're gonna be out. Is actually how he said it. And I'm like, just like Talia, I should have listened to Matt. Do you want to know how far out I was? Like a millimeter. And Matt eyeballed that from the beginning of the game. From deployment, he eyeballed that I was going to be a millimeter out. And you know what? That's pretty much how like every small thing that happened in the game at that point was like I would try to do something and it would just be a little bit not quite enough. A little not quite enough. And then of course, like Matt played very well, so those small things just added up. There was also like he was playing Boss Obi-Wan, and even he made the point. He was like, "Yeah, I know why you brought Kanan Cassian for the diceless displacement and to try and like out tech me." He's like, "I honestly would have brought Jin Leia and just dumped us into a 50-50 aggro matchup." Because my Leia list and my Jin list are kind of are pretty aggressive. He was like, "Yeah, I was expecting you to just see if coordinated fire expose was better than whatever boss was doing, and just turn it into a bloodbath." And I was like, "Huh, that didn't occur to me as a strategy against Republic." Spoilers for round 2 after Matt beats me. Anyway, any questions on the first round?
Okay, okay. No, I mean, I guess that's so. One of the things with the helpful hand, I guess, like kind of made me think about since you brought that up. I mean, when you look at rebels and a force user primary unit, you're really kind of lacking in that. So, I mean, it's a very big positioning issue. And having, I mean, like that's one of those things where I think, having those reps like Matt has where you're able to see the positioning, it can definitely help out with that. But so I think, it makes me wonder if maybe like Fulcrum Ahsoka is something, if you're really wanting to take advantage of that, finding a way to slot her in, so that you can really maybe leverage that a little bit more because you have a second primary that can actually, that's a force user also. I don't know. Have you thought about that? Like, just because that's just something that kind of popped into my mind with that.
I haven't played a lot of games with Ahsoka Fulcrum because Justin's been working on her for a while for me. Thank you, Justin, Chris's brother. But the games I've had, I guess yes, more than likely Fulcrum Ahsoka would help with this problem. But up until now, I have basically played as if Helpful Hand is just an extra ability, and I haven't gone out of my way to trigger it. I have been having enough conversations about Rebels and their play patterns that like I try not to say, "Oh, I'm the only one who knows better," when there's a ton of better players going, "Oh no, this thing's amazing." I try not to be, but my games are far better when I treat this as an after effect. Like if I get it, it's lucky and it's awesome. I like because to explain. Sorry. So what happened after this game is then the whole other half of Matt's board activated. So if I had gotten Kanan onto the point instead of Ezra, Kanan would have gotten to sit there for like 4 or 5 turns, just soaking up a point for me because none of Matt's other side of the board went, or the side that Kanan was on, right? And so if I had reversed roles and Kanan was on the point and Ezra was off, well, I mean, he was playing Boss Obi. What do you think happened to the teenager a few minutes later? He got beat off the point, Todd, right? Yeah, well, yeah, no, sorry, not
Yeah.
beat off the point. He got shot off the point. Yes, yes, you're right. For those of you not on YouTube, Todd's doing gun signs over here. So, I mean, Ezra Ezra did not hold the midline, and then I was fighting over the midline. And like, if those roles had been reversed, I like again. Matt's a great player. Not saying this one decision led to me losing the game, but it certainly didn't help matters.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So
All
round
right.
two for you, Aubrey. We have. Yeah, we're looking at round two. This one you ended up going up against Chrono Ranger, who didn't bring his Ewoks this time. So how did this round go?
Well, I brought the Ewoks for Chrono Ranger. That's what happened. I brought the honorary furries. So after discussing it with Matt, because I did ask him, because he was surprised, and I was playing into this wasn't like Boss Obi-Wan, this was Mace Obi-Wan, but it was still Republic. And as we know, Obi-Wan's hunker tokens are kind of a pain. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna test what Matt and I just talked about, and I'm gonna play Jin and Leia and see how that goes. Because one, I admittedly, while I have played all of these lists with various configurations with Cassian, I hadn't actually played the like secret extra list, which is the Jin Leia like kind of an aggro build. And so I played into Chrono Ranger, and at first things went very well. Like my game plan was seemed to be working. Like we're doing all right. Spoilers, I eventually lost. Like well, we'll just get that out of the way now. But it seemed like the list was working, did very well. Then he and I had the weirdest like 3 or 4 combats in a row. Like you came over for one of them, Todd. Do you remember the weird dice roll we were having?
Slightly.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I'll tell you.
slightly.
We had like seriously, we had 3 or 4 combats in a row where they were reasonable attacks by both of us. Chrono Ranger made good plays, I made good plays, and then we got like 0 steps down our tree, 1 step down our tree, 1 step down our tree, 2 steps down our tree. Like 4 times in a row, we just looked at the dice, looked at each other, and we're like, cause like he would roll 5 fails, or like he would roll 3 fails, and I would roll 3 fails, and like so like the numbers just kept adding up to like combat did not happen for like 4 turns. So like we would have done better if we had just moved and take cover, especially him because he's playing with Obi-Wan. Like his turns would have been dramatically better if he had just moved and take cover for like 3 or 4 activations in a row. So then our games kind of went sideways because all the things we intended didn't happen. So then we ended up like filling up the struggle tracker pretty far, and then things just kind of slid into his favor after that. So like after this weird exchange back and forth for like 4 or 5 turns, I mean total like combined his and mine. Then eventually, we ended up because of that we ended up going to time because again we didn't move the struggle tracker like at all for like we were scoring like no point because we were like tied up on some objectives, right? So like no one was scoring because we were like it was the start of a new struggle and like okay, I'm gonna attack. Oh, we're tied. Oh, I'm gonna attack. Oh, no, nope, we're still tied. So like nothing was happening in the game. And then this was another game where yes, we went to tiebreakers, and yes, he beat me on objectives, but like we even played out like the next turn because we had so much momentum. I would have lost anyway the next turn. Like if we had gone to like one more turn, I still would have lost. Like so, yay, woo! I don't have any much more notes from this one than that. Obi-Wan and his hunker tokens, Todd.
Yeah, Obi-Wan's good. I mean, like I think there was another podcast. It was Zion's Finest. They were talking about that's kind of the litmus test of what is good. Is it can it play into Obi and his hunker shenanigans or not? Whoever you pair Obi with, like Obi Hunter, Obi Mace, Obi Anakin, whoever you Obi Kiadi. I mean that's kind of like the litmus test of where like if it gets to that upper echelon of play and stuff like that. So it's a good list. He's his ability. I mean, it's been around since the beginning of the game, and it's only gotten better as time's gone on. So I can see that. All right, so the last round that you had, you ended up not having to play into Obi, which was probably good for you. At least not exciting not to have to play into him. So you ended up playing into Holden, though, who was playing Riff with the armor. That sounds like a pretty interesting game.
Yeah, so this game was a lot of fun. I have to say, Holden and I have very very weird games. So the last time I played against Holden, I was trying to play around Obi, and like we talked about this on the podcast last time. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on that one. Go back and listen wherever that was. I don't know where it was. Good luck. And so he was playing a pretty aggressive list, right? Armor, Rift Tamsin. So it was Rift Tamsin box and Armor box, just full down, all the way down. And so I'm like, okay, we're gonna try a version of my one version of my more aggressive list. I decided to go Cassian and Leia because I wanted the coordinated fire exposed. And also I was like, I could play Kanan here, but I kind of wanted to have a fun game. I'm 0-2. I'm out of contention, and I hadn't really gotten to play Freedom Fighter Leia with Cassian yet. I'm like, you know what? I looked at Holden. I was like, do we want a sweaty game or do we want a fun game? And he's like, well, I'm playing Riff Armor no matter what, because he was list locked in the sense that he had to play Armor that round, and so his options were like Mando or Riff, I think, in the way his lists are built. And he's like, no, I'm playing this, so you pick what you want. So we started things off very friendly, and it was a bloody game. Like I trying to remember, what was it? It was 5 wounds. I had 5 wounds to his 3. So I guess bloody, a little bloody on my side. Yeah. And so like we were just going at each other and firing off all these attacks. Like Cassian gets wounded at some point. I actually paid a force for blow up the town because despite all of our aggression, when things went down, the points got really weird because like I got a very early advantage in struggle 1 to the point where I was like, oh, is this actually going to go my way? No, it didn't. We proceeded to have a 90-minute struggle 1 because at one point when he had wounded enough of my models on the midpoint that there was a cluster of model and like I was wounding stuff back. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there were so many wounded models that Riff was basically alive by himself on a point with like 4 other models, like his and mine, and we couldn't get any more people up there because there's just all these dead bodies lying all over the gantry to the point where at one point I had to like send who was it? I had to send Bazid Chirrut like on a log line, like at an angle, so that they could then like climb up onto the far side of Riff to try and get there and attack, because there was no like going straight for the objective. There was no more straight for the objective. That didn't happen. But then oh, I I I don't remember which struggle this was in. It must have been the end of struggle 1, because oh my word, Holden's dice suddenly went on fire. I was rolling like, and my rolls were good. I was rolling like 4 blocks, 5 blocks, 3 blocks, and turn a crit down to a strike or whatever. Like I'm rolling very well defensively, and he's like, "Cool, you block 4, 5 down my tree. Cool, you block 5, 4 down my tree." And I'm like, "What? What? Why? What's happening?" like I'm blocking well and you're still bullying me. Wow. So so he eventually, from some pretty nasty attacks, takes struggle 1, and then we have a really fast struggle 2. Like I come out of the gates swinging pretty hard, and I take down. I thought I was going to take down the struggle, but then all of a sudden, at a key point, he what happened? He flipped 2 struggles, or I mean 2 objectives with somebody. Sorry, Holden, I don't remember. But there was a moment where I thought I had it, and then he did an attack into one of my supports or something, and just flipped both struggle, or both objectives. And no, I remember what it was. It was, I had to leave my back line because of that whole mess that was happening in the middle of struggle 1. So then when we flipped the card for struggle 2, he basically just had to move a couple of models like into my back line barely, because like I had shoved, because this game got weird. I shoved 2 different models towards my back line because that was the only angle I could shove them, because of all the dead bodies, Todd.
That's pretty awesome. That is pretty awesome. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear it.
Yeah, so it was a very fun game, but once he was able to take like my backline objectives, and I'm like super far forward. Plus Leia was all the way in his backline because that was the only way I could take an objective. So her coordinated fire wasn't doing what I needed it to do, and it just ended up being a very quick struggle, and then we ended that one at time. Which, Holden, we got to stop going to time. Like and I don't even know why. We played control lists last time, so I understand that. But this time we were both playing aggro, and it still took forever. So I don't know. I don't know what happened there.
I don't have an answer for you. I mean, but overall, I mean, it sounds like you had a good time. I mean, it sounds like the event went well-ish, for the most part. I mean, do you feel like you learned anything productive off of the games that you've played?
I will say more of just like list building stuff, like and this may be like a little bit play style dependent, but I actually found myself wishing that I had access to C3PO in my list, which sounds kind of odd, but I I feel like there were a few times where having Luke Daring Hero in my list felt a little too detrimental. And that may be because I was playing him alongside Bodhi instead of my intention, which was to run him alongside Callus, like the Cassian list. But I kind of still want to try C3PO and see if there's something there. Overall, I actually really enjoyed Pathfinders. They still have kind of wimpy attacks, and I wish their attacks were a little better. But the scale, and the turning your dashes into advances, or was it reposition advances? I think, but like they did what I wanted. I understood going in that they are not an aggro piece. They're a tech piece. So hopefully, so I mean, I got the feedback. I got the feedback that I wanted from my list, and I have to say, after giving Omnis this hot take about PLC, now I kind of liked Princess Leia Freedom Fighter. She did a lot of work. Like, even though I lost my games, her explosive charge, I was able to take out. I took out Mace Windu, and I don't think I took out Rex, but I was able to like soften him up for like a follow up attack to like flip an objective. I had to pay full price for that thing. Like Jin never. Jin, I am still trying to figure out. I never got to use her momentum ability like that whole game because I just never ran out of force, and that was like paying full price for like Leia's explosive charge. I don't know if I've just gotten better at force management or something, but I I never had a problem with running out of force with her, so I need more data there. Let's see. After the tournament, we did talk about. I gotta give a reverse shout out to Silver Lining. So I'm always playing around with tables, Todd. You know that, right? I like building tables.
You do. Some of the tables don't get all of the positive feedback I think you hope for. It seemed like that might have been happening a little at the end of the event, that you were getting a little bit of feedback that was not exactly positive. I could see that you seemed a little perturbed by some of them. The feedback, maybe, I don't know. What do you think?
Okay. I already messaged Chris. I already messaged Chris and Matt, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I was getting a little testy, but I have the one table where I have these foam cliffs, and they are very large, and I will admit, on purpose, I put some of them in deployment, and I put like the not the garage, but the small like tech shed, or I think it's called the tech shed. I don't remember. They have names, but one of the core set buildings. I specifically put stuff in deployment because I wanted to create a puzzle for players to solve. But apparently, I made it a little too hard on one side of the table, and Silver Lining had a rough game. That's why I'm like, sorry, buddy. Congratulations, you got married. How about you have a terrible game on the table I built? And so I just need to work on. There is a fine line between setting up a table that has nice, clean deployment, and you can deploy wherever you want, and all the objectives are perfectly within range of you. And look at these lovely ingress points that get you to the midline in one activation with no problem. Yeah, that's boring. It's boring, Todd. I want like the turn zero, like if you're first player and you get to pick sides, I want sides to matter. So I purposely set up this table, and maybe I shouldn't have picked the problem child table because everybody finds something to complain about on this table, and so we had a conversation about it afterwards. So I will say is I'm going to continue to experiment with this table and see if I can get it right. But also, if you see something like this before the start of a tournament, tell me. I know not people probably didn't notice, but this is why I'm like, this feedback is great at the end of the event. Or, you could have told me while you were deploying that it sucks, and I would have just moved it in real time because I'm allowed to.
I just liked watching. It was very fun and enjoyable to watch. Like, you just like slowly get irritated about it, because it's like, I know that table has been like the bane of your existence, and like you've just been like, I hate this table, and all the feedback you don't hate the table, you hate the feedback that you've been getting from that table for so long. So it's just kind of funny to sit there and like kind of watch you just like, yep, Aubrey's getting it again from about this table.
Well, and the thing that bugs me is I'm almost at the point where I'm like, fine, like half of the table is just AMG terrain. I could take off all the fun stuff, all the cool stuff, and just make it an AMG table, and then I won't have to hear about it ever again. But then everyone, because it wasn't just Chris and Matt, there was like 3 or 4 other guys. Like I'm trying to remember. Sorry guys, I'm tired. I think it was like Andrew and
I know
2 other
Alex.
people.
Alex had something to say about it.
Oh yeah, Alex was there, and like all of them were like, "Oh no, no, no! I really like the table. I like the trade. I like this table. You should bring it back." And I'm like, guys, which is it? Is this table annoying to play on, or do you want to play on it? Because as soon as I'm like, I'll just stop. I'll just stop. I don't care. I'm over it. This is like my experiment. Like, we have so many Fractured City and generator rooms that I like to experiment. I'm in the middle of making a Jedi Temple table. Like, I got YouTubers. Yeah, I got the C27 Studios STLs, and so I'm working on. I like interesting tables. I'm like, do you want a homogenous experience or not? Because like we could just make, I'll just set up all the tables the exact same way. They'll all have 7 ladders. They'll all have 4 gantries. Your aqua droids will get wherever you want. You don't have to ever play Mandos or infiltrate if you want. Like, I will just make beautiful, perfectly boring tables for you all, or not. like, come on. And mic drop.
I like I said, it's enjoyable to watch you go out and get on tilt. Yep. I like it. It's fun watching you go on tilt over this. I enjoy it. It's this is the content
But
that I came here for, Aubrey.
but I will say, please keep giving me feedback. I'm not saying the feedback was wrong. Silver Lining apparently lost his game because I put a cliff in slightly the wrong place. So, again, sorry, Silver Lining. I'm working on this. I'm working on this. I'm trying to find a line between fun and challenging and competitive and I, it's just you know what Matt Booker said afterwards. He was like, "You're on the right track. Keep going." And I'm like, "All right, thanks, Matt. Thank you. I it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine." All right, Todd. New topic. New topic.
All right. Well, I mean, like we don't have to dive too deep into this, but one of the things that I've seen a lot, and I mean, and there is data to support the complaints, is that Cassian and Boss are just running rampant in the meta, and it's making the meta unhealthy to a certain extent. And before you and I jumped on to the to start recording, we started digging in a little bit, like kind of looking at like where Aiden was during Adepticon and kind of like before, after, like really like the beginning of the year. And she had like a 57% win rate. And then we looked at like where Cassian and Boss are. Cassian's right now, Longshank's data for what it's worth, has him at 62% and Boss at 60%. I mean, and that's a little bit higher than you want them to be. I mean, you know, you ran Cassian twice, lost with him, and I think this was a rated event. So I mean, like you're helping to bring that number down, and we appreciate that. We do it, Aubrey. I just want you to know that everyone out there really appreciates that.
Thanks. Thanks, Todd. Thanks. Glad I'm doing my part. I'm doing my part.
but I mean, like I said, like the top players right now. I mean, if you look at like the top cut over at like Zi-Fi and like some of the GTs, a lot of it is Cassian, a lot of it is Boss. I mean, we looked into the data even more. And it's like, what's the best thing to do into these? Well, it looks like it's either play the mirror, like, or Boss. Like, it's like, that's kind of where it's at. Is the and I hate to bring up the topic and not have a viable solution to like what it is, but right now they do have a little bit higher of, I think, a win rate than I think people were wanting to see with Cassian and with Boss. I don't know, what are your thoughts on it?
I I mean, it's hard to argue with data. I mean, one of the things I said before we started recording is, as soon as a Magic deck starts to breach the like 65 plus percent win rate, Wizards of the Coast would just go and banhammer. They would even do emergency bans if it was particularly egregious. Now that's a little higher than what we're seeing with Cassian and Boss, but they're definitely inching towards that way as good players get more proficient with their lines of play. Like you should have seen Matt. Who, like I wish like Matt needs to start teaching Shatterpoint classes or something because he used what is it, rule 17 and the what is it, the fixer dice. I don't know the sorry I don't play I don't own this box, so I sometimes get like who is who and which ability. Like I know what they do all together synergistically, but I get their abilities mixed up. But in any event, yeah, like I just watched him. He specifically put Seven Scorch like just up on an early point with one of his out of activation movements. Just very simple, very subtle. And even I was like, I wonder why Matt put him specifically where he put him. Spoilers. It was because by moving Scorch up to that exact point, he was now in range of all of the things you need Delta Squad to turn on all of their effects. And I just watched, like, it was like objectively, it was beautiful to watch Matt systematically destroy me just using good positioning and setup with his Delta Squad. So I I get I get where we're at. And what honestly, what surprises me, and maybe I'm just mistaken, but I play a lot of Cassian. I don't play enough boss, so maybe I'm only looking at it from my perspective, but I would have had them reversed. I feel like boss gives you so much tech even into Cassian. Like Matt wounded my Ezra with just the bomb. Like denied me a revenge trigger, which probably would have completely changed that game. Like I'm honestly surprised that Boss isn't doing better than Cassian, but I mean maybe that's just more. There's more Rebel players than there are Republic players. I don't know. I do. What do you think about that? Or am I quibbling over 2 percentage points and the problem is both?
I think that the floor is higher with the Delta Force with Delta than it is for Cassian. And you've had again Cassian's been out a little bit longer, so there's that. Because there is a lot like you were going to a lot of positioning. There's a lot of I need to have fixer, like I need to have all of my different clones in specific areas to get the fixer dice. I need Seven Scorch to be within range 3 in order to sit there and have the rule 17. There's a lot of different positioning that I think you need to take into account. And the other piece of that on the Cassian side, Bayes and sure it's the best support in the game right now. And end of sentence. I mean, and they're the 5 costs that slots right into Cassian because he's a 9 squad point character. So I mean, that's I think the big piece of it there on the Cassian side is you're running the best support that's currently in the game. And like I said, the floor being a little higher on boss with the positioning and just I think that those are the two things I think that probably like gives that percentage point. But as people get more reps with Delta, I think Delta's could easily surpass where Cassian is on that list for sure.
Yeah. I mean,
what do you think?
No notes. I know that Zi-Fi had an episode about this. Apologies, everyone. I've been trying to finish an audiobook, and so I haven't listened to a lot of the podcasts this week. I'm a little behind on what everybody else is saying about this, but I don't know. Part of the problem is that these are also characters that people like. So I mean, people like winning. The Andor show just finished. Delta Squad is like a classic. Like if you're an old school Star Wars prequel nerd, you played Republic Commando. I still remember how great that game was. So I mean, I think it's also partly like, okay, the reason why I'm still playing Cassian is because I'm trying to play all Rebels, and he's not named Luke, Han, Leia, who else? Lucan, Leia. Like he's not one of the four the four main characters, and I could Chewie. I could put him on the table, and I could actually bring other rebels with them. Like I'm not even playing a fully optimized. Like this is the best premiere list. Like I'm just gonna bring Cassian and Boss and bring everybody down. Like I'm doing it because I want to play with rebels and it's fun. So it's what is the point I'm going with this, Todd? I think it is a little bit of also like new. Yes, I know. Uh, it's also new shiny toy syndrome. Like I think there's a few things that are contributing to the high rate. Like is it also that they're very good? Absolutely. But it's also fun to play with these models. So I don't know. What do you think about that, Todd?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a recency thing with all games. I mean, and especially with these particular games because it's like, well, this is the new cool thing to do, so you're going to do the new cool thing. So definitely there is some of that. I would say maybe another part of that is we just haven't seen new releases really. I mean, there's with everything that was going on with Legion, we knew this was going to happen with everything going on with Legion. There was not a lot of releases. We're not going to see any releases. I think until after the new year. So I mean, this is where our meta is until we see Balin and Morgan Elspeth come out, and that might not even be until February. I don't know if we have January releases on the horizon. We will probably know, hopefully, more once we get to Administrav next weekend. So that's hopefully will give us a little bit better idea of where the meta is kind of going, and things along those lines. But I think that's kind of what it is. Is like we've been kind of low on releases, which like I said was expected, and I think there's like I said these are probably the two of the best supports in the game with Seven Scorch and Base and Turret. I mean, and Fixer being able to just I'm going to add if you position well, rewarding that positioning of giving you so much more dice, and then Boss just hitting like a truck. When he's able to sit there and roll dice, I mean, and he has so much movement. Oh, and by the way, you can heal him if you get 3 down your tree, which on his rapid rifle side, there's just a lot going on where it's like he works together. He has a lot of stuff going on that makes him work really great.
Yeah, talking about that healing part. Oh my word. The Matt did such a good job of again positioning. He was dishing out heals left, right, and center with all of his clones. So it was very difficult. Like I understand now why he was talking about how I should be more like lean in and be more aggressive rather than techie because I could not get chip damage to save my life. Like eventually I was able to punch in because I mean it's Cassie and Kanan. Like it's not like they're pillow fisted or anything. Like I was eventually able to do a lot of wounding and then I got a
Right.
couple of my blow up the town did 3 damage to like everything after I lost struggle 1. So it's not like I wasn't in the fight as well. So I hate to say that the answer to this problem might be the equivalent of go touch grass, but we are about to go into the holiday season. Everyone is going to be busy with other things. Like, I know the competitive players are going to want to get in 15 games a week between now and Adepticon, but I mean, the answer to this kind of meta thing is, I mean, maybe try this is the time to try out some goofy formats or some goofy uh alternate tournament formats. Like I know Chris was talking about how he wanted to create a sort of like not a key operations but something like a key operations. Like he wanted to work on that. And I know in our Discord somebody shared another alternate format that seemed kind of interesting. We even talked a little bit about my World Between Worlds table and how that would work. We were talking about ingress points and who was it? Was it Alex? Might have been somebody else at the table. Sorry, there was a lot of people talking to me, and I'm trying to remember who said what. Uh, but they made the point. They're like, well, you could actually make like teleporting ingress points, like in World Between Worlds, the gateways you could go into. You could actually like go into the gateway and then pop out like on a wild other side of the map. And so I'm not saying do something else, but if the meta is wearing on you to the point where you are upset about it and the game is not fun anymore, I mean put ask to not play Cassian or Boss. Play a different list. But on the other hand, if you are a hyper competitive player and you want to be on the cutting edge of the meta, you're playing Cassian and Boss, and I'm sorry, they're fun and cool. I'm sorry you're having too much fun. I don't know. That might be a little cheeky. I
I
might
mean,
be
and
too
this goes
cheeky.
back. I think no, not being too cheeky, but I mean, there's one thing I would say is that one of the things I keep coming back to is there's not a lot of diceless displacement being played. I mean, and that's leading into Cassie and leading into Boss. I mean, even looking at like the list that we have, I don't like that we're being played at our event. Not a whole lot of diceless displacement in that, outside of I think one person brought Mando. So there's that's I think part of it too is like maybe we need to go back and reevaluate what we're bringing in our list based off of what is out there in the meta. I mean, if we're going to be seeing a lot of Boss, I mean, and a lot of what like the Delta does is where their positioning is, and if you can disrupt their positioning with some diceless displacement, that might help like with some of those games. With Cassian, I mean, like Cassian, I think some of it's just you just have to be a little bit more aggressive. But I think like we're trying to find that proper control list and what like control looks like in this current meta, I think is something that maybe you need to play around with. I don't know. That's kind of I guess where I'm at. What do you think?
I mean, I hate to dust off a very underutilized model and also sound a little bit like Omnis for a second. Hi, buddy. But I have been considering trying to slot Boosh into one of my Rebel lists, but the problem is I have to give up Leia for that, and I'm not sure I want to. But if I did give up Leia, I could run like a Mando Boosh. I don't know what else would be. I don't know what the support would be in that list because I'm kind of just thinking about it off the fly. But I, as much as I love my Leia and love my list composition, I do keep trying to squeeze just one more diceless displacement in there. And one of the other things Omnis was talking about over in Rarely Reserved Discord was just jamming Fifth Brother into an otherwise Rebel Premier list. I know he's caring more about the steadfast part, but what does Fifth Brother have, Todd, that has to do with our conversation?
Yep, definitely. I mean, his repulse is amazing. So definitely, without a doubt, that's something a way to go for sure. So yeah, I mean, I think that like there's I think there's list building options out there that I think maybe this needs some a little bit more exploring. I mean, they're not. I know a lot of people are like when you're trying to min max it, there's a lot of people out there that might be looking for the best thing, and that's I don't know if like that's the best thing to do, but it might be the best thing to combat the current meta. Is get maybe get those reps in with something that's maybe a little more control, a little bit more displacement and stuff like that. So I don't know, we'll see what happens. But I think that's probably a good place to kind of call it a day. I mean, do you have any closing thoughts before we wrap it up?
I I guess all right. Be positive. Be positive. We're playing this game for fun. And everybody's definition of what fun is different. A lot of people just want to min-max and get reps on the best thing in the game. And guess what? There is always going to be a best thing in the game. If we deleted Bazin Churrid and Seven Scorch from the game, something else would take their place. And I'm not trying to say there shouldn't be a balance update or changes to the abilities. Like I am the first one to be like, no, it should be changed like this. But in the meantime, because I doubt AMG is going to go into the holidays and suddenly play around with these models, remember to find ways to make the game enjoyable for you. I got my butt kicked yesterday, but I had very specific goals that did not have to do with winning, and I feel like I accomplished those goals yesterday. So more or less. So lean into, find alternate ways to make yourself happy if you are not enjoying the meta.
I like it. All right. Well, I guess on that note, I'll go ahead and close everything out. I do, as always, want to thank all of our listeners. You guys are amazing, and I do appreciate each and every one of you and everything that you do for us as far as the support that you give us by being listening, by being in our Discord and talking to us. So if you want to support us, you can definitely do so. There is ways to do that through Patreon. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month. That's not always for everybody, and definitely understand that. So if you don't want to be a patron, you can definitely support us by rating, reviewing the podcast on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. Or if you are watching us on YouTube, like, subscribe, leave a comment, let us know what you're thinking with all of that. Outside of that, as always, I do want to thank each and every one of you again. And always, I guess I'll just finish up the traditional way by saying, may the force be with you.
Long live the Empire.